retard. Step 2.
Yeah. I know it hasn't worked yet or not. I don't know. Who knows? I might just have to sit here and you guys can talk about shit.
It has to be an input issue with OBS.
OBS.
Make sure you start that
Yeah.
over, pull it back again, point it to the right device.
I don't know. Well, when I
Hey,
talk
I
now,
hear
the
you.
microphone's going up. All right, I just had to restart the stream. It's working now?
I hear you.
Oh, thank God. All right, well, since we're recording, we might as well just jump right into it. So we had some technical difficulty. This is the third or fourth reset. So we were jokingly calling this episode 12.5 because last week's had some technical difficulties. Now I think we should probably make this episode 12.72 since this is like the third or fourth startup for this episode. So we're running about 9 minutes late now, starting the episode. So technically this is Season 2, Episode 13. I've been neglecting announcing at the beginning of each episode. We're right on the precipice of maybe pre-alpha. I don't know, maybe a month or two. So we're slowly winding down. We're going to talk about that a little bit about that later. This is Crowns and Crows. Dragon's back this week. That's me, Lakes and Valor, up there, up top. Chiming in. Time for the rundown. We got a new stretch goal. Time to pay for the new video guy. Get him in here making some videos. The shop finally has some fucking t-shirts. I mean, I swear to fucking God, it's about goddamn time. You had the icon for a t-shirt. Couldn't buy a t-shirt.
I've been told for the longest time, like, I ask about the hats because they were talking about making hats. Like, say something, and they're like,
No.
Lakes.
No.
Our Tyrant's like, Lakes, you need to just chill out. It's like I could sense the sarcasm through there, and I just want to bite his ear, man. Like,
I know.
Come on, dude,
Just get a hat. Just get a hat.
Oh, man.
And apparently the shirts have an $8 shipping charge to them.
8.
So,
Oh, yeah, it's 20.
I'm like, what? I
for
just bought a $20
overseas.
t-shirt, and 50% of that cost is shipping. I mean,
Yep.
come on, bros.
I mean, but
hurting a brother. I got two kids to feed.
I think they did it that way because they had somebody who would handle everything, and they didn't have to throw up, all of the actual financial stuff themselves. So, yeah, I think that's probably why they went that way, and some of the charges for that.
I'm just fucking
But
with them.
man,
All right.
like those are some expensive T-shirts.
I'm just saying, Well, I'll support
Those
the game.
good cause, boys.
Whatever.
Mhm.
Make the game work one t-shirt at a time. Topics where obviously we're going to talk about the Legionnaire animations. I had to stop Lakes and Valor for talking about it. Well, no one can hear my voice since Windows 10 effed up my OBS. We're going to talk about that. Apparently Thomas Blair is an EverQuest champ. I did not know this. He had items named after him, and he was almost the first Jedi in the world for Star Wars Galaxies. And that video is the inspiration for the cats running all over the place, because apparently he has millions of them doing the good work inside the community, being a foster parent for all those kittens out there. So more power to him. God bless the cats. I can't do it because my wife is allergic to kittens, or cats in general, I should say. And then we're also, the third topic is like we said, we're going to say what's next for Crowfall. Essentially, what are our next updates going to be? Because we got all 3 class updates, we got animation updates for all of them. So what's the cool shit we're going to learn about next? We're going to speculate. That's going to be our giant what if topic. See what we're going to get next week. So, all right, boys, we want to talk about the Legionnaire update. Lakes is itching to talk about it. He really wants to talk about it. So why don't you take us out of here, Lakes? What was the first impression you got out of the animations that you saw?
So I like the auto attacks. They seem very smooth. I like the fact that they were kind of quick. So they chained up pretty quick, which is going to be an important part of the combo. You want to get those buffs out, those mana regeneration buffs towards your group. I think the mana regeneration animation for the auto attack is a little lackluster. All you have is this blue swipe.
I was going to ask you.
That great. I would say that for something that shows a buff or a group buff, it should feel worthwhile to go up there. And a little blue slash, I don't think is that great. I don't know. This is nitpicky, but me personally, for something like that, I would like to be able to see where that guy is on his chain. One, so if I'm against him, maybe I try to knock him down and break up that chain so I could stop the animation from going up, or that auto attack chain.
Yeah.
And 2, it's just you want to feel rewarded for using it, I guess, and using it properly. And it also kind of gives that people around you know that they've gotten it?
I'm
or
assuming
it's
that's
around
going
there?
to change because watching that video, I had totally forgotten the Legionnaire had a 5 attack. I think it's a 5 attack combo where the third one gets the mana buff, and then the fifth one has like a giant
Mana buff.
group
It's
called
bigger.
Command. I have it up here right now, so I'm assuming they're going to have some kind of little aura pop out when you do it or something, just so you
It doesn't
can
have to be
actually see.
extravagant because
No.
it's a part of an auto attack chain, but it definitely would, in my mind, would be a little more than a blue slash.
Well,
And I mean, maybe I'm reaching, right?
No,
But
no. Well, so here's my thing is when I saw it, I was like, oh, I noticed there was a blue line. It's a little bit of an animation, but it's what you typically see from a fast-moving blade. And so I just thought it was part of the skill and just the slightest of action coming behind that blade, and to find out that that's their distinguisher, I'm with you on that. I think that at some point they're going to need to add a little bit more so
I
that
think
you can react. But we talked about this with the Legionnaire and the Knight. I'm sorry, we talked about this with the Knight and now the Legionnaire. This is pre-alpha footage, so we're just talking about what we feel they should be focusing on.
Now,
I think the important thing too is we're bringing it up now. Obviously, there's probably placeholders and things are going to change, but it's important to point out some things that maybe, as a community, me personally, I'm not speaking for the entire community, but I think I'd be representing a large amount of people when I do say that it seems a little lackluster. So getting it out there now is definitely important because they are in the pre-stages and it is a placeholder, hopefully. And
I
they
think
have
it
something
is.
into it. I think so too.
they know.
Possibly.
They know. I mean, you have enough assholes like me pointing that shit out on the forums every single day. So I don't think we really need to comment on that. I think they know that it's placeholder. I think your suggestion of making it more pronounced in this third buff and the fifth buff so people can see it, so you can react to it, is an important piece. And
So I guess it should feel like almost like internal rage, right? Like the animation where he
Rears up or
casts
something?
up, rears up, and it's like
Yeah.
red animation, like that rage comes out. I love that. It's crisp. It
Yep.
feels like it's worthwhile. Like you could see that animation, like that guy's using it. Okay, now he has the rage to be able to use a combo chain out of his tray. So it's a telltale for you as a defensive player, maybe an offensive player, what you need to do in that situation. I like that. I
Yeah.
did like that animation. It felt smooth, clean, and it meant something when you used it.
all right,
I agree, 100%.
Let me talk to you, Lakes, about now, because combat is important to read and react to a lot of things. And let me kind of pause in here. Here's the you can't see this, but the attack animations essentially goes through a progression of basically you swipe left, you swipe right, you get a buff, swipe again, get another buff, and there it is. The animations are smooth. I like the timing of it. It doesn't feel too slow. It's not sluggish. However, you need to be able to react to know when that buff's about to come. So should that second and fourth attack animation have something to it so you can predict when that third
No.
or fifth swing?
No. It should really, because that's one of those things where you need to, if you were really getting into like I don't know how high level this is going to go, but at a certain point when you start to count people's auto attack animations for certain things, we used to do it in a lot of different games. We used to do it in Guild Wars 1 because some of the rage skills were built off of adrenaline. So you would count auto attacks because auto attacks would build up adrenaline so you could figure out when they might go and try to spike a target. So playing as a defensive character, you would have to sit there and almost count frontline attacks. So in my mind, that's something that's important if you want to get that technical, is being able to count. But when you see the animation, it should still feel worthwhile. So
What if, instead of like the first animation, let's say it's a swipe with the point.
Do you want this to be your what if?
No, this is not a what if. This is like basic gameplay mechanics. If he swipes one way, let's say with the point of his spear or whatever, the second animation that says, okay, he's about to buff somebody, or maybe it's the beginning of the buff animation, so you have that split second, whether to stun or anything else like that, to be a different animation. So instead of a blue swipe coming through, he uses like the butt of his spear or something like this. It's basically a distinct animation for that buff hit.
So I guess Thomas actually mentioned it in the chat, and this is a very good point, is he's worried about FX spam at that point. So if you have a precursor to a buff cursor to all these other cursors, it's going to definitely be a FX spam kind of thing.
Okay.
So
what if it's an animation thing? Forget about FX, because all his swings look basically the same. He's going left, right, left, right, left, right. Maybe one's a little bit bigger than the other. Should the visual animation for that third and fifth swipe be something that's noticeable, that you can see it coming and give you a chance to interrupt? Forget about FX. Forget about the blue. This is
I don't think
animations
so.
for hitting. Nope, it should be all the same.
It's not important, right? Your second attack is not important. Your third and fifth are. So those should have a meaningful animation.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
A little bit.
You're the buff animation. Let's say he's the first, second, and fourth animation.
But there shouldn't be a telltale, right? Like if you're a good player, you should be able to count the attacks.
So you want him just to be able to count the attacks and whatever. So
that's getting too technical. Like maybe that's not even part of a meta that comes out. But I'm just thinking about it.
I mean, what else are we going to talk about at this point? I think it's. I mean, this is basically what we got at this point. So I'm getting deep into something that might not even freaking matter.
And he's saying, that's why we try to make it super subtle in the weapon trail. So they're going for subtle. I like it. You don't want to be terribly focused, but really, as long as they make it easy enough to be able to identify what's coming your way.
Or for your other teammates to get close, because maybe it's an aura. You need to get close by.
Yep. So you don't want as long as they handle that however they want to, I'm okay with it.
Yep. Now, I mean, again, I could go either way on this situation. I was just kind of playing devil's advocate.
Or what if, like, it could be even simple as keep the blue swipe, but make the tip of the spear glow blue on the attack, right? Because all you really see during that thing, or that attack animation, is really that blue swipe, I believe. But if you made the tip of the spear turn a bright blue while it's doing it, then that's enough to keep it so where you could see it. It still means something, but it's not overly like, wow, like it's part of its own attack chain.
I don't need fireworks on my screen. I just need something to kind of show what's going on. All right, the second point I wanted to bring up is the, what was it called, Scatter Horde ability?
Yep.
What do you guys think about the actual physical distance that's pushing everything back?
I like it.
Too far?
No.
Too short?
I think that what you have to consider is the range of weapons and how close do you have to be in melee range. Those are the sorts of things that I think that if you have to be relatively close, I mean that could be a 3-second travel for that person if they're running forward or something. I mean that's a long time. In a video game, so if you're trying to get people off of your back line, you're ranged, you're less armored folks, you hit that, and they're able to continue shooting at range. I mean, that's pretty significant.
I mean, that's a huge scatter.
Does it knock your own team back too?
It's physics, man. I mean, it's friendly. If friendly fire works, that's going to work too. I have to imagine.
I lost my audio.
So I would definitely think that it would knock your teammates back. It would. It's a physics-based attack. Why wouldn't it? I agree. I guess my other question would be, and it definitely goes to Jay Big for pointing it out, but this is something I wanted to bring up, is they used knights as an example of being knocked back. But if those knights were in a block position, would that scatter the weak actually knock them back? Because
that's a very good question.
As you block, they talked about they wanted the block to have a little bit more mass to it, to where they wouldn't move away. So, and it says that they were training knights, and
I think they were just dummies.
They don't have any other. So, I want to know if a knight blocks, would it knock it back?
It does. Yeah, that's a good question. Is the static variable on that knockback distance have a mass variable in there? So if the knight increases his mass with a block, does it get pushed back a little bit, none at all, or whatever? So is the knockback distance a variable distance? Because this looks like about the same amount of ratio as when the animation from the knight that we saw last week, when it did its iframe move and it jumped up, it sucked people in from a very far radius. I was quite surprised that black hole effect was that large. Obviously, it's not final; it's just there. But I thought it looked pretty cool. And this looks about to be the same amount of distance from the knight, I think.
I would have to go back and watch it again.
It looks. I was really surprised that it looked a good 2 weapons distance away, basically.
What are you talking about? The scatter of the week?
No, whatever the iframe Knight ability where he jumps into the air and it sucks people in before he jumps up.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was really cool. So
I like that animation. I talked about it last week. I thought that was a good animation. It was meaningful.
It felt
smooth,
impactful.
crisp. Yeah, it felt It felt like if you use it at the right time. I mean, I don't want to backtrack, but it felt like if you used it at the right time, it was like one of those like you outplayed somebody, you literally yell, "See a nerd" at your computer screen, and watch that dude die and have to respawn. Like, it was a cool skill. I definitely enjoyed it.
Now, here's one thing that maybe it was because when I was listening to it, I wasn't paying attention or not. So when the Centaur Legionnaire goes through this wall of barrels, and he kind of charges through, is that his dodge? Is that his right-click ability? Is that what he's demonstrating? I'm assuming that it is.
The dodge when he runs through the barrels,
right?
Yeah,
he kind of jumped like a little bit. To me, does that seem a little short range to you? It didn't seem like he moved very far.
No,
but it says 10 meters. I mean, if that's 10 meters within the
units,
game, then
whatever you want to call it, it doesn't look like he's moving very far.
Well, he's also larger than the other archetypes, and so
what if the barrels actually stopped him from going as far because they weigh a little bit more? So, like, if he didn't hit barrels, maybe he would go a little further. Maybe. So the maximum is maybe 10 meters, but since he hit the barrels, maybe he went 6 meters. Because if you watched when they were doing Scatter of the Week on the Knights flew. They're doing Scatter of the Week on the barrels, and you watch these barrels move like a little bit. It's like these barrels are 30 Knights and worth of mass. It looked different, right? Like going back and looking at it, the test dummy Knights, they flew back like they were just no big deal. They do this right next to
barrels are slowing them down. By the way,
barrels are.
Thomas just said that in chat. Now, I need Thomas to tell me how many units those boxes are in the grid on the show.
I also need Thomas to tell me,
please,
when is pre-alpha starting, and can we have some accounts?
Wow, you just shut up and chilled yourself out there, right?
I've been sitting there, waiting for a good setup. There you go.
Valor's like this. And it's like, Thomas.
I mean, no.
No, I don't. Well, I have no idea what's going. We didn't rehearse this at all. But I want to know.
You can't rehearse this.
It looks like he's jumping about a body length's worth through that, and the barrels are slowing him down.
Yeah, so it's physics. So that's what I expected.
Oh, see this? Here's a glitch that they have to fix. You guys can't see this, but the first shadow of the horde around the barrels, the one barrel in front of them didn't move.
It was like it was too close. So if you're within a particular distance, I've seen skills do that before, where if you're too close, they
got to fix that bug, Thomas. We got to fix it. Get Tully on it right now. He needs to
call him up.
Let's do it.
Tell him to quit watching the Doctor. Praying to the Queen. Go back to work.
I think that was basically it. The only other thing I kind of wanted to look at, I'm going to fast forward it here, is I'm always curious about how you're able to chain abilities together. So the one thing when we do the internal rage ability, where basically you ramp up your rage and you can go in. I guess it's full rage.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it's a long animation time from when it starts to when it finishes, and that can have some interesting gameplay aspects to it. Like you see somebody rear up and gain rage, you either have time to run away or move away or attack or stun during that animation. Because let me see if I could find it here, back on the video. Did you notice the same thing, Lakes or Valor, when you went through it?
So it is a longer animation. It felt like you were using it to gain the rage, right? You rear back, but at the same time, you really have to think of it like if there's anyone within range of you, you can maybe move up to auto attack them, whatever the case might be, to build your rage. It should be a telltale. When it comes up, you see someone full bar rage. Now they can start to use their tray abilities. You definitely want it to be, okay, now they use this, maybe we want to kite back, play a little defensive. It also gives someone the ability to start a combo chain without building rage. So it's a skill that's going to have to be used at the right time. Mm-hmm. And obviously, because it has a long cooldown, right? It's one of those strategic plays. Yeah, there's a gameplay. There's a counterplay already involved in it. You could already see it. I think it's perfect the way it is. But I mean, who knows what everything feels like within
So
the
you
game,
want
right?
this ability to something that you have to either run away and use and charge back in, or preempt engagement with it and get it in there and go in. That's the type of ability you're seeing. It's definitely not part of an attack combo for sure.
I mean, it could be. I mean,
It's
we
a full.
haven't seen
I counted.
all-
I did
Yeah.
maths. I counted frames. It's definitely 2 seconds long.
Well, we haven't seen all the skills in action
Sure.
and figuring out complete combo. You know, what is the most efficient way to play or combo these skills together? But it is something to where you could start a combo chain right off the bat with Eternal Rage before a fight, so it's a preemptive thing. Or maybe you combo, build up auto attacks combo. You used all your rage and you use it again to recombo. Is a way to you could probably play it as well. But I do think it's something like if someone automatically refills a bar of power to be able to use all their skills, there should be a cast time to it. Just like when the Confessor's sitting there ripping out his pages to gain mana back, like that should slow that person down for that set period of time.
Yep.
Because once they get it back, they're going to start doing deeps again,
Sure.
and that's, I mean,
I think it's balanced. I think it's just interesting to kind of think about the theory crafting behind like how you could use things, how they're thinking about setting up these types. Especially if the centaur rears up, he might stick his head into a fireball or a couple hours or something like that when he does it, which I think is kind of cool. It increases his hitbox a little bit, which is something to consider. Which most of the time in MMOs that never happens. So it's kind of. Did I miss anything in the Legionnaire animation that I did not bring up that you guys wanted to talk about?
I mean, I think I saw just about everything.
Yeah.
You know,
So. Yep, Lakes.
looks good.
I mean, you're staring at us somehow. You're thinking.
No,
I see smoke coming out of your ears, my
Those
friend.
dead eyes.
no, I was just like, I was trying to think, and I was actually playing it because I only have one computer screen, so I'm not dual screening anymore. So I was watching the video again to see if I could find anything, and really the big thing was the mana regenerations with discipline and command, and then I just had a couple questions about whether the dodge running into the barrels actually slowed them down because of physics, and it does. And I really liked Eternal Rage. I
That
thought
was
that
an
was a neat
exclusive
skill.
bit of information. Barrels slow down your dodge. Oh, here first on Crowns and Crows. We can tweet about it, Valor. Tweet it out.
Well, hey, I'll hop
Boom.
right from
Doom.
that.
There
Big
he is.
news.
Boom.
Stop what you're doing, guys.
Big news.
You don't even know.
So, all right, I think we killed the animation. The Legionnaire animation video to death. I think we covered all the different points that only insane people would. We also got another video last week. I'm going to save Thomas's video for last, I think. The animation techno mumbo jumbo type of stuff that we talked about. The only thing really that I kind of pulled out of it while watching the video is when they were talking about client-server times with the ping levels.
Yeah.
That's basically the only thing I mean, all the animation stuff. If you've never seen an animation video or don't know how video games are made with animations, it's a really cool video to watch.
Really interesting. I mean, they get into a lot more than I expected.
I've seen a lot of that stuff already, so it was kind of not really new to me, but for somebody who's never seen anything, it's definitely worth watching. I think it's like, was it 10-20 minutes long? I think the video. It's pretty in depth. And the guys show you how skeletons work and how the animations work and all the different things with that kind of come together, and it's really awesome. But the one thing is they're talking about character control, and things are still not better in North America with that amount of ping. So it's kind of a detriment to how fast or how much you can actually feel your character moving. So it's going to be interesting to see if we can ever get Thomas or Todd or somebody else on talk about how your characters feel right now playing in the office versus once they're actually in a live server environment when they're playing from home or playing in there.
Throwing this out there, if we do have somewhere where there's like 250 milliseconds of ping for people, that's probably exponentially higher for me because I'm playing from Hawaii. So wherever these servers are, I'm screwed unless it's on the West Coast. So I think it's going to be rough. 250 ping for someone on the mainland of the United States is kind of a big deal, especially if you think about someone that lives right next to the server. They have 0 ping, and some of these iframe abilities and the ability to outplay and Twitch skills, if they mean a lot within this game, then you're just going to get dumpstered if you're at 250 ping versus someone that has 10 ping, lives right on top of the servers. So server client time is going to be a big deal, especially when it comes into voxels and everything else. Like, that's actually one of the main concerns of a lot of people is, what is ping and client server time really going to be like for us when we play this game? Because an action combat game with high ping is going to ruin the game for people. So 250 ping is high. We need to figure out a way to drop that down to where people on the mainland of the United States should be at like 80 ping max. And then I should be sitting from Hawaii, just like it when I connect to Chicago servers at 110 ping. And that's high for me and something I have to get used to. But anything past that in an action-based game could kill. That's a lot. I don't know how it will feel, but I mean, that is a lot.
Well, and I think that they've actually talked about it a little bit, that they're looking at going with their servers probably somewhere out of the local area. So we're looking at Austin, Dallas, I would assume one of those two cities most likely.
You have to take a look at the actual framework and which cities have like the highest fiber optics and everything else. And unfortunately, Chicago is a little farther from all of us, but they have a very good infrastructure set up for servers. It might be beneficial to look at something like that, maybe. I mean, obviously this is way down the line, outside my scope. I don't know how things are working for them, but I know that you have to look at infrastructure and something that they're going to definitely look at. But if we're hitting 250 ping, that's unplayable, and I'm going to just smash my face against this computer, and I just wasted $500.
I'm not a network engineer, so I have I trust in the people that know how the internets work to make it work. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, and I mean, we're touching on my overall just biggest concern for Crowfall is really, it's just what is the performance going to be like when you have so much data? You have the physics and you have all the other elements going into this game, and then you put 400 500 people into one spot. What does the game do then? Because if you're going after these this Shadowbane-esque feel of an MMO, you're going to be dealing with numbers. And if that's not fun, I mean, Guild Wars 2, people started really loathing the World v. World because of how they had to handle dealing with those kind of numbers of people. And it really hurt the game. Can Crowfall with a smaller audience and
maybe I'm wrong.
Being a smaller company, can they handle that? Or they could have something I've never seen before, and I hope that they do.
Did Todd mention different time zone? Didn't he? I could have sworn he talked about time zones when they were talking about in the last forum update, and he kind of brought up Bane circles and that whole type of thing. They were talking about.
Yeah, they're going to do like windows of opportunity.
Yeah, right. But he also mentioned. I think the original question was something that had to do with you have specific campaigns that are tied to specific time zones, or something like that, and then if they have servers located in different parts of the world or different parts of the country, maybe they'll have like a West Coast server for more West Coast people. So Lake's ping is not 1,000; it's more like 80 to 110 somewhere. They
definitely said what I know for sure is they said that they're going to do servers in Europe, but they're going to start off here in Texas.
Yeah, sure.
For all of their testing, and then eventually they'll open up a European server for testing.
Well, that makes sense, right? When you have pre-alpha, alpha, beta stages of a game, you want your servers kind of close to you. It's just better for you, your working relationship. You're close to the servers. You're able to do everything. It's right there, right? Well, once your game starts to get established, you definitely might see server swap from more of a closer area to them to possibly a more
they're outsourcing.
Supported area.
Scree brought up a good point. They're outsourcing their server farms. It's not going to be anything house-made. It's through Google, so possibly you can rent space in different parts of the country for... I have no idea how that costs work, so magic, things, fairy dust. Gordon can figure out the money issues, whatever. I don't know. I'm not even going to pretend to even know how any of that shit works. It just
there's so many knowledgeable people sitting in our chat that just know.
They're laughing at all of us. They're like, these assholes have no idea what the fuck they're
like, yo, there's going to be ping and it's going to be 60 for everybody. Just shut up. And then everyone's going to be like, oh man, I have 60 ping. Right? This is so terrible. And then everyone's going to bitch always.
We'll see. And I mean, the servers, I mean, when Darkfall said, oh, we're doing these server clusters. We're going to host this massive map, and tens of thousands of people can be on it. I mean, that was revolutionary back in the day, but they did it in a horrible way, so it really wasn't all that great. But it was one of the first seamless worlds, as big as it was, where you never had any loading screen at all.
That's because 30 people played that game.
Well, I mean, it helped, but no. But so I'm looking and I'm expecting that they're going to take on some of the newer tech and apply that to MMOs, because we've just seen too many problems with numbers and data rates and all this other stuff. So
you have to also consider security with client-server discussions and hacking and all that other shit. So that really kills your ping, because you have to intercept client-server type of stuff and gate it and predict it and a lot of other fun shit that whatever. So let's drop the whole ping issue, because we're kind of way over our own
rabbit trail.
Let's talk about Thomas's "This Is Your Life" video.
Murder of Crows.
Murder of Crows. So, I never knew that he was big into EverQuest. I knew he was into UO and some other things, but he played EverQuest for quite some time. So I guess I should have assumed that he played it because he's been playing video.
He looks like an EverQuest player for sure.
He did meet his wife in EverQuest. So
yeah,
I know quite a few people that.
So it worked out for him, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he Care Beared it up for a while, and did some raids and got some loots for a while. Got a ring.
Did he say anything about did they do the virtual marriage? I mean,
were they virtually married, or was he just before they really married?
I mean, did they even touch on that? I mean, would he admit it?
I mean, do we really want to go down this?
Absolutely not, bro. Let's move on. He's in the Marine Corps. Cool.
Okay. Go on. All right. So EQ, and then he moved on. We got a little bit about galaxies. I thought it was a pretty funny instance where he was this close to getting Jedi, and they said, "Dude, you can't do that. We got to have."
We're talking the first human to become a Jedi, and it could have been you.
It could have been him. It could have been in Wikipedia.
I mean, we're talking about the first Jedi.
Now I'm assuming Thomas is a good guy and he's a truthful person. So I'm assuming he's not making this story up, because this is something that I would definitely make up about myself. I was this close to being the first Jedi, but I was working for games, and they said no. George Lucas called me up and said, "Look, dude, I know you love video games, but come on, bro."
This would be a fantastic troll. They're like, oh my god, they actually think he played Star Wars Galaxies.
That 18-year-old kid on the East Coast that's been playing for 30 hours straight needs to do it. We need the success story. We need marketing on this.
What this tells me is that the South Park joke that they did on World of Warcraft. I mean, those types of meetings happen where they're like, oh man, this one player, he's reached a power too great.
That's my joke. That's where I get the Sword of 1,000 Truths from, dude.
We cannot let the Sword of 1,000 Truths fall to one such as he who is named Blickstab.
Well, I mean, if you actually want to, I think it was Raph that had a really good blog about how he wanted to design Jedi and how it eventually came about. And I think a couple of Gordon's posts on the forums on the early days of the Kickstarter kind of cemented a little bit of that behind it. But Raph had some awesome blog posts about SWG design and developer behind-the-scenes shit, that all the type of things that they wanted to do. So if you want to go to Raph Koster's blog, read up about Jedi and how they wanted to do it, how it ended up, and the fact that Thomas was actually this close to being a Jedi before they started actually helping people become Jedi is pretty fucking amazing. That's some hardcore shit right there. Because there's some shit that wasn't was just hidden. You had to randomly find it. Then not enough people were becoming Jedi, so they had to put in clues and hints for everybody. But holy fuck! So that would be a good. I think they really should have gotten Raph or Gordon on there to either support the story or
emphasize how big of a deal it was,
exactly.
right?
I would have loved to seen that.
I think that one thing with Raph is that I don't think he's what we would consider an ace employee, I think he's actually contracted in. So he does a ton of writing, and I mean, he might just be awesome at it, which he probably is, but he might not be doing Crowfall 100% of the time. I haven't really seen anything about it.
"Quote unquote" consulting.
Exactly.
I don't think he's working full time on a project right now.
No, I've seen him. Yeah, I've seen him talk about other projects on Twitter. I follow him, and
isn't he designing the crafting for Crowfall?
Yeah,
He had some input into it.
He's consulting on it. I mean, yeah,
Is he making board games right now?
What I've read from him is brilliant. I mean, he really does a great job of breaking things down.
I could have sworn he was working on some board games or consulting for somebody for board games or something like that.
Apparently, he's writing a book right now.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
Figured it out. So, was there any the one thing I guess I'll bring it up. The only thing that I kind of got a chuckle at is, one of the big things of his past experience that's key to Crowfall is his experience with DCUO, their combat system, and because that's probably that might be the only North American game that has Twitch combat in the MMO scene. Most of the other Twitch combat games are all Korean or I guess or Chinese made right now. I think. I can't think of anything.
That's out. I mean, you're pretty close to being right.
Unless there's some like small game out that I never heard of or I'm completely forgetting at this point. So the whole thing is he's talking about all his other experiences. He has some great stories, and then he mentions DCUO, and then it moves on to his kitten story. I'm like, why did you gloss over that so much? I mean, that game had a lot of problems coming out, and I guess he didn't want to.
Oh yeah. Well, it's funny. It's actually I work with somebody who did a lot of the audio for DCUO apparently as well. So
I liked that game.
I played it, and
it felt fun to play.
It felt a lot like the old City of Villains, City of Heroes, and
sure.
I loved the system of that game. But I mean, there was a lot left to be done by the time they had to quote unquote launch, and it just wasn't ever complete from that overall experience standpoint. So I know a lot of communities kind of shunned it after a while.
I don't know how you have a community in a game where the chat doesn't work. I mean, thankfully Unity has that shit built in. I think a chat function. I think it does, or at least there's a mod.
I won't even touch on it because I don't know.
So in any case, I just kind of wanted to poke fun at Thomas because that was like, this is your life video on him, and that's why we had the lovely cats dancing around, because that's one of his passions and his wife's was saving kittens down there in Austin, which is a great and noble thing to do. So
one kitten at a time, boys. One kitten at a time.
Whether it's the side of a highway or through adoption, anyway, both ends of the spectrum.
Did you guys get to see the investor video that Todd and Gordon put together?
There was a video?
There's a video that accompanies it. Just dropped it in the chat there. It was interesting. I mean, they have their marketing faces on, so you can tell that they're giving out pertinent but positive information. And what they've done is they've actually enlisted. So they had this goal of raising $1 million.
I read the update. I didn't see.
Yeah.
Didn't watch the.
And so
video.
they've made it. They've made it 300,000 or 700,000 in. They've got 300,000 left. And how it was explained on the forums was by going to this company who's assisting with the last 300,000. They're able to lower the cost for somebody to be able to invest. So it actually kind of makes it a little bit more available for people who want to. But it was interesting. They got slammed a little bit for one person tried saying that they're obviously struggling with raising funds, and Todd said, This is the fastest I've ever done any sort of fundraising like this. This is unbelievably successful. So no, that's not it.
Right. So if you think they're struggling to raise funds, you're false. I think they made it very clear they're trying to get funds faster so they can speed up things.
Yeah.
Right. Above, because they're trying to make their timeline probably a little closer. They're trying to make it closer together. Get this game out and a playable version to alpha as soon as possible. So the more money they have, the more that they can put into whatever they need to do, hire more people, contract work, whatever the case might be. So it's not that they're having a hard time. Like look at how much they got just from Kickstarter alone.
Oh, yeah.
And then that's not even including the guys that have backed on the outside and their own personal money put in.
Yeah.
And then you take a look at other games that are in development. Crowfall is doing a good job. I mean, Kickstarter came out how long ago, and how much money did we raise just off of that? I mean,
here's a couple things. You've got Gordon's resume tacked onto the game, which is impressive for people that pay attention to game development, not specifically people building the game and everything else. He's usually the guy that you don't really hear about in game updates because he essentially keeps the lights on, so to speak, and gets all the business stuff together. And if you just look at his resume through all the different games, blah 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 blah, it's pretty impressive that he can get a small team together like this. Because typically you don't see huge growth in a game or funding in a game like this unless you're Star Citizen selling ships for $500,000 a piece or something like that. So it's quite impressive, and I like the design of Crowfall, which has us all excited about, is very modular in its design. They can completely screw it up, but then the next campaign comes out and it's completely fixed.
Yeah,
which I think they've been bragging about that, which I love because
they're willing to let it and let it ride. So this one's all jacked up. So next one won't be, guys.
But that allows them to
it.
shorten development time because once they have the tools and the infrastructure and the game essentially built, which is going to take a couple years, a year or two, maybe at most, the game is going to be pushed out the door and here you go. And hopefully it's fun to play. But they're going to continue developing on it, and they don't have to create. I mean, we're completely off on a tangent here. All the quests and the PvE and all this other shit. They just create a sandbox and throw it in there.
That's a tangent. Yeah,
and,
but
whatever.
And one of the reasons people have problems with games when they launch is, this is the only time that you're going to get to enjoy the launch of a game. This is the only time you're going to be able to, set yourself up and be able to, plant your roots of what you're going to do and where you're going to be. And so with these campaign worlds, not only will you get multiple opportunities to enjoy that launch, but that this world's ending. So if shit just doesn't go right, or something was broken, something was a little bit unfair to start off with, you can still play the rest of the season. It's probably not going to be that big of a deal, but know that, yes, we saw this was a problem, it's not going to be in the next one. Deal with it now, but have fun dealing with it. So there you go.
All right, well, let's talk about this. It's a pretty good segue into what's next for Crowfall. We mentioned this at the top of the show. We got our wish. We had basically a month and a half, 2 full months of awesome updates where we talked about the Legionnaire, we talked about the Confessor, we talked about the Knight. Not only did we get UI stuff, we got skill panes, we got animations, we saw the game in action for the first time since the Kickstarter. They changed a lot of stuff. They got rid of all the the flashy shit on the ground, that type of thing, the telegraphs. And what do you think we'll see next? Next week? I have no idea. I mean, some weeks they have some, random shit that they put out for an update. But what's the next major thing that we'll see? What do you think? We'll start with you, Lex.
So, I think based off of just what's been released, it's nonstop supporting pre-alpha. Everything about it is like, all right, this is the 3 characters we're going to have in pre-alpha. Here's the look at their animations. Here's the UI. Here's how it's going to work. Here's the group UI. It seems like they've got the gray box part already set up. They've got the skills. They got the animations. I think we're probably going to start to hear something later on about maybe the possibility of pre-alpha testing in the near future. I think that's probably the next step, and where we're going to start to see is we've got the information, we've got the baseline. All right, now this is what we're going to do. We're going to start to test it.
All right, I have one specific thing that they're going to be testing next and showing off, and they kind of hinted at it, I think, 2 weeks ago, or maybe it was last week in the updates I wasn't paying attention to. So, Valor, I'm going to see if you can figure out what I'm thinking about. Maybe I'm completely wrong, though.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What do you think they're going to be showcasing next?
I feel that what they've gone through is they've gone through the first module of theirs, the combat module.
Right.
They've been able to build out the 3 characters. They've been able to start showing off how these skills are. I think what we're going to start seeing is I think we're going to in the next 2 weeks. I think we're going to get some sort of word about when pre-alpha is going to start, because they said end of summer, and I don't know when the season of summer ends per se on the calendar, but For me, it's usually end of August. So
Crafting module.
yeah.
Now, I think before we even get a pre-alpha announcement, the one thing I thought I heard was destruction. We're going to see them blowing up walls and shit falling down in the physics.
I think they gray box stuff way too much that they need. They're probably going to start to lean towards. They built this test environment specifically because they want to get the testing done first. So I would, you would think, right? Maybe we'll see a destruction module, and that may come on later, where they're like, all right, now this gray box is now just a piece of land where we're just going to blow stuff up and test our voxels with as many people as we can fit onto the server and test it out. Sure, that could definitely be something in the future, but.
Did they say that in the combat chat, or not the combat chat, whatever, the forum Q&A or whatever the hell they call it? Last week, one of the questions was, somebody asked something about destruction or breaking down walls or something. Somehow that came up, and they basically said, we're not ready to show it, but we'll be showing it soon. So I think we might see more gray box stuff, but now we're going to have the Confessor's giant fireball shoot out and blow up walls, because that's one thing that they mentioned. I think that's the next big thing that we'll see.
I don't think so, man. I think they're going to hook you up, Dragon, and they're going to give us the EK module, and we're going to talk about cool things that are in the EK and building your own castle.
The hangar module,
a nice little flag. Yeah, dude, they're going to hook you up.
I see, because they've been talking about how much they've been focusing on the combat module, and I've had someone say, oh yeah, everyone's working on it except for one intern who he's working on it, but what he's working on kind of works for the EKs too. So everyone's working on the combat module. I
don't think everybody's. Don't they have strike teams?
You know what?
They do.
It was given as an example. Take it as such, but so I'm gonna look at it as that's a starting point, and it's going to grow out from there, as opposed to jumping to other topics. At some point, they're going to start working on a crafting system, but before they can start, doing a crafting module, they've got to come up with all of the different things that these characters need. I don't think they're there yet to be able to have that full list, so I think crafting module is going to be something we're not going to see for quite some time, and we're going to continue to see, maybe get to see some of the physics, the destructible environments, as they continue to build one campaign map, because I believe that is their goal. Get a campaign map up, get it functioning, and then after you get that up, you can just start pulling buildings and throw them into an EK.
You don't need to make a campaign map. You have algorithms that make maps. Well, that's how the voxel farm system works.
You can just my point is they start off with the combat module, which would take place in a campaign, and then they start adding everything that would make that campaign a campaign map. And so they'll get to that point where, okay, we've got all the buildings, all the terrain, we've tested all of the skills, everything on that one campaign map is functioning. Now we can start working on everything else while we continue to test things on that campaign map. Because the EK, they said, it's just stuff from the campaigns that you can then put into your EK and stylize or whatever else they're going to do with the cash shop.
I think after combat testing, for sure, that's going to be something that comes up.
I think they'd build slowly into that. So when are we going to start talking about or hearing about import-export rules, win conditions, and all the other shit? That's got to be like
I think they've
5 months down the road from now.
Possibly. They've taken the crawl, walk, run approach. The crawl part is their game is based around combat, so that's what they're trying to test first. Then you have to think of, all right, after combat, we've got our animations in place, all the skills work together fine, they interact fine, we've got our physics working pretty well, what's next? And after that, you have your combat in a terrain environment would be your next step, because then you're able to test on the terrain and the voxels and how many people we can fit on the server and everything that is put into this game, destruction and all this stuff, see how it reacts with that many people on, and see if we're able to handle that many people on an area. And then from there, we'll start to build into more and more additions. So these modules, I think they're going to be tossed on little by little to finally get to a part where we're going to see a playable alpha game.
Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. All right, is there anything else? Did you guys last week touch up on the UI? That whole I really liked that video.
We spent a good amount of time on it because we liked it. It was clean, simple, and it didn't clutter stuff up.
I mean, I just want to put this one comment on there. I mean, UIs are going to change. Whether or not they're moddable is going to be something that's down the road. I doubt that they're going to be moddable right away with the amount of API that needs to go into doing that. But the most amazing thing that most games don't have, they allowed you to move that shit around in game and put it where you like it.
We talked about that actually last week. Was like
that's the most fundamental shit in the world.
Right. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I kind of like that. I was just kind of stretching out the show a little bit. This show's gonna be about 50 minutes long, probably. Even though we started on time, we had a lot of the. Well, we're technically at 1 hour right now, but we started 9 minutes late due to technical difficulties of my microphone. So the show's going to be about 49 minutes long if we end it right now.
Yeah, that's fine. We can end it and grab anyone who wants to call into Gamebox and.
I can get a drink, and we can start the after show. So let's close this thing down here. This is episode 13, season 2. I think season 3 might be imminent. Maybe another 4 or 5 episodes at most. I think. Hit all the follows, hit all the likes, tweet us at Crowns and Crows. Maybe Valor can check the Gmail account, crownsandcrows@gmail.com.
I did
sometime this week. Oh, Lakes is on top of it. Excellent. Valor's here. Valor, anything you want to promote this week? I know you're linking shit right now.
Yeah, no. Follow us on Twitter. Get on the forums, and we always update everyone on when we get videos up on YouTube or iTunes on occasion. You have to talk to the guy over there, Lake.
You got to point the other way.
Throwing him under the bus. Really?
Lake is to your left on screen, so I guess you're right.
Yeah.
Pointing at
and then
just say, man.
Yeah. Feel free to hop over on the Angry Crows political forum.
That's what I was getting to. Not all the other bullshit about social media. Just throwing that out there.
Yep. It's a growing community, and we've got some big plans coming through. So that'll be my one plug.
Okay, there. I'm just giving that to you. All right, boys. Time for the after show. See you afterwards. Catch you later. Thanks for joining us. See you next week.